you can actually get mentorship from people without necessarily having to call it such a formal thing. And sometimes I think people, especially who would be in the mentor role, actually think, oh, you know what, mentor, that's going to be a heavy lift. It's going to take a lot of time. You're talking years, right? It's going to be for us to be mentor, mentee. Maybe I don't really want to do it that way.
Welcome to Working Women Mentor, the podcast that delivers mentorship in every conversation. Each episode, we meet remarkable women who share the real moments, challenges, and breakthroughs that shape their journeys. These are stories that inspire, empower, and remind us of what is possible. I'm your host, Rainey Alpers, and I cannot wait for you to meet today's guest. Let's jump in and uncover your next mentor moment. Hey everyone, welcome to Working Women Mentor. I'm your host, Rainey Alpers, and today we are talking to the angel next door. I love this name. Marcia Dawood is our guest today. She is an author, she's a podcaster, she's an incredible investor, and she's teaching us lessons that we all need to know. I think the practices that she brings to us in this one episode, you're going to walk away feeling more knowledgeable, smarter about the topic, and also learn about her book. She has a bestseller out after being a TEDx speaker. She released a book, Do Good While Doing Well, Invest for Change and Reap Financial Rewards, which we all love. So let's jump in and meet Marcia because she is doing just incredible things that we can all learn from, including the way she approaches mentorship. Here we go. So good, Marcia Dawood, I'm Rainey Alpers. Thanks for joining us on Working Women Mentor. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
We're so excited. We've got so much to talk about today. So thank you. You've got a lot of exciting things going on right now. Marcia, but first, would you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. So about 12 years ago, when I was working in corporate America, kind of doing the same thing and expecting different results, somebody invited me to an angel investing meeting. And I thought to myself, cool, wait a minute, what's that? I have no idea what angel investing is, but it sounded neat. So I thought, well, okay, I'll go. Let's see what this is all about. I was living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the time, and I just was fascinated at the amount of entrepreneurship and innovation that was happening right in my own backyard. I had no idea. I felt like I had literally been living under a rock.
How interesting.
I start going to these different meetings. I start learning about this. I'm like, wait a minute, you're doing what? And that's so different than like my brain almost exploded. It literally was like, wow, I've been working for the same company. At that point, I'd been working for them for almost 15 years. So it's a long time, kind of still doing that same thing. Even though I'd had many different jobs, I was in sales and marketing, operations, all kinds of things. But really started to get a feel for, hey, there's a lot of things going on out in the world that I had no idea. And wait a minute, I can actually be involved in it? Well, I didn't really think so because I thought you had to be rich, well-connected, you had to be invited, you had to have a finance degree. I mean, all the things. I thought all the things, right? And a lot
all
of people
normal barriers to entry.
All normal barriers to entry, right? So I start very quickly, though, also learning that very little funding goes to women, people of color. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, women, we're like 50% of the population. And so you're saying that we only have like 2% of the good ideas? Like, that's crazy. So how do we change this? Well, we need to get more people in the game helping to bring these innovations to life. And that's either through investment or through their time, through their networks, through their expertise, and just being able to help entrepreneurs to be able to grow their companies. So from there, I made some definite mistakes, which is why I ended up writing a book, because I thought, yeah, I wish I hadn't done a couple things. So maybe if I could tell other people so they don't make the same mistakes.
Very generous of you. Yeah.
Along the way, I tried all kinds of stuff. I invested in funds. I became on the investment committee of different funds. I tried pretty much any way that you could invest. I wanted to try it. I was on advisory boards. I was on board of directors, all kinds of things. I used my time, my money, all kinds of stuff. Then I quickly ran out of my own money because you really should only use about 5 to 7% of your investable assets into a risky asset class like early stage investing. So I then thought, well, wait a minute, there's still a lot of people that need help, still a lot of entrepreneurs out there, especially women. So how can we get more people to know about it? So I started a podcast in 2021 called The Angel Next Door. I then did a TEDx talk in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2022. And from there, people said to me, oh, this is really interesting. I had no idea it existed, kind of like me back in 2012, no idea. But they're like, wait, it was 11 minutes. That's not enough time. You need to explain it a little better. So that's why I wrote the book. Do good while doing well.
I love it, which of course, I've got a copy right here.
Yay!
You've got plenty behind you. I love this. We're going to get into this book. I want to hear so much more. I mean, this topic is just, I think, so intriguing to many of us. But before I do, I ask everyone to text a friend just so we can get their introduction of you to our audience as well. What did your friends have to say, Marcia?
So actually, I thought this was really interesting because, of course, once I started to really think about it, I thought, oh, well, that does make a lot of sense. But it wasn't anything that I would have come up with, right? Okay. Which is usually how it happens, right?
Yeah.
And so she said, well, if I had to describe you in a word, it would be decisive. And I was like, I had never thought of that. But here's why she said it. It's probably sometimes, the timing, of things also, right?
Yeah.
So recently my husband got a new job and it turned out that we needed to get an apartment in a different city. So I had to make a lot of decisions very quickly. Like, where's the apartment going to be? How are we going to get a bed? Very basic things, but kind of important,
but
right?
Swiftly. You have to do it.
And quickly, right.
Yeah.
And economically, reasonable, right? So, because it was like a big, extra expense to have another apartment. Anyway, so she was like, oh, but you made those decisions so quickly. You really thought through. You were able to be analytical at the same time, very decisive. So I thought, okay, well, I'll take that.
That's nice. I love that. And means she's listening as well to what's going on with you right now. Years ago, my aunt was visiting me and she was watching me deal with a contractor. I was in the middle of a renovation and I had zillion things surrounding around me. And later that evening, she goes, I had no idea how great you were at decision making. And I'm just thinking, what? What are you talking about? This is my normal day lately. And so It was really kind when someone else can kind of see that, what you're doing. Because to you, you're just like, well, yeah, I just had to make these decisions. And
right.
It's good. That's a beautiful compliment. So I'm glad you shared that with us. So all of these hats that you're wearing, right? Let's get back to that because you've got a lot of different places that you spend time in and a lot of different components to you, of course. But how are you navigating the transitions between all these roles, between an investor, a founder, business owner, an author, a speaker, a podcaster, wife, a friend? How are you doing this?
So I think a lot of it's kind of like life, things ebb and flow. Sometimes you're going to have to spend more time doing one thing. Sometimes you'll spend more time doing another thing, all of those. And I've also found that you really do need to utilize the resources that are out there. And so when I say that, I'll give you an example. So yes, I have a podcast. I've had it since 2021. When I started the podcast, it was kind of when podcasts were just becoming kind of popular. And there weren't a ton of podcasters out there, and there certainly weren't that many tools for us to be able to use. So I would record the podcast, and then I would have somebody help me figure out what we talked about in the podcast so we could write up the show notes. And I would it was very laborious. It took a lot of time. And then I had to get it uploaded and all the things. I learned how to do all of it just so I would know. And then I was also I also need help. I can't do this all by myself and do these other things. But nowadays, there are so many cool AI tools that now I can utilize. The person who was helping me part-time, she's actually now able to really think about, hey, how can we do this better? How can we make it better for the audience instead of just this grind of trying to just get the job done? And so these AI tools that are out there now, and they do make some specifically for podcasters, being able to embrace that and use that, I think that is very helpful. So when it comes time to say, okay, this is the amount of time this week I'm going to spend on podcasting, this is the amount of time I'm going to spend on whatever else it is, then I kind of know where those hours have to be spent or where I'm going to put my time, because I know that I have some resources that I can use that are, relatively inexpensive, they're easy to use, and then I can do that and not have to be spending so much time doing things that are relatively laborious and not very, effective.
Yeah, and smart of you to have people around you that are thinking that way instead of you having to think that way for everyone.
Right.
That can become old. And I think you're right. It's like everything we do, analyzing the leverage of time. Where is our lever? And being able to free ourselves to do more of what we want to do, right? Or the other roles that we enjoy so much more. So it is great advice to think about those tools that you have. And when you're thinking about those tools, I know that you're also working and coaching and talking with a lot of business owners out there. But first, could you dial back a little bit? You touched on the angel investing. And before we get into who you're working with, could you help our audience understand what that is? Because I do think there's a lot of people still out there that thinks, wow, that must mean you are incredibly wealthy and
Right.
you're Mackenzie Scott doling out cash to the best available
I
person
wish.
out there.
I do wish, because that would be
Yeah,
so fun to just give money
wouldn't
away
it?
like that. Oh, that'd be awesome.
It would be great. Okay, so help us understand this. It's not free money. I mean, what is an angel investing?
So, an angel investor, simply put, is someone who uses their own after tax dollars in order to invest in a private company. It's that simple. Private company as opposed to a public company. So sometimes if people think about public companies, they might think about the stock market because we hear about that in the news a lot. Oh, Apple stock or Amazon stock or whatever, kind of stock, bank stocks. Those are things we hear about a lot. Private companies, which is a very large majority of the companies in the world and in our country, are private. Those are the companies that don't get talked about as much. And so a private company that is a scalable, small, or what we call early stage company, the scalability is what makes it investable. So I, as an angel investor, I'm looking for a company that seems like they're solving a big problem and that they can then take that solution that they're building and really scale it up so that a lot of people will want to use it, they'll buy it, and then the company's value will increase. And therefore, once the company was either sold or they went public, that they would then produce a return for their investors.
So you do want a return.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's why I say it's an asset class that you want to be very careful because it's early, so it's risky. And we also say that you should never have more than 5 to 7% of your investable assets in a risky asset class like this. So like an alternative asset is angel investing is a good example. Another thing might be art or classic cars, things that aren't necessarily something that you could just take to the store and like trade in, or that you could just sell it easily. Like nowadays, it used to be very hard to trade public stocks. You did have to be like super wealthy, and you'd have to have a broker and all these things. But nowadays, anybody can go to like Robinhood or E-Trade. If you have an internet connection and a bank account, you could trade a stock in seconds. And then if you wanted to turn around, if you wanted to buy it, and then 5 seconds later you wanted to sell it, you can.
Yeah, that's a beautiful world. And I like that you touch on the fact that it could be art. I mean, what a huge business that was during COVID, even several years ago with these it still is, but I mean, there are all types of alt investments out there. So I'm curious, you specifically though are focused on scale, but also a diverse business class. So what are you looking for? What type of companies are you looking for currently?
Yeah, typically an angel investor, these scalable type of companies would fall in 3 buckets. One would be technology, one is some type of healthcare or life science, and another would be a consumer product. Because those are the things that can really get to the masses. Technology, we use it every day. There's so many examples of technology. Healthcare, oh my goodness, I'm just grateful that there are so many people out there working on trying to solve a lot of our healthcare problems. And then, of course, consumer goods, we use stuff all the time. And there was just a big acquisition even for a soda brand, which was actually run by a woman founder. And that company was acquired by Pepsi. So that's huge.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Super exciting to see stuff like that. So these are the types of companies that we would look at and think, okay, that's an investable company.
So, Marcia, did you form a group of people that are working with you that are helping you? I mean, because you don't just wake up one day and go, okay, yes, I want to start investing in the community around me, but But is it more than you? Or have people now learned that I can go to Marcia because she likes to look at businesses like this and then I can pitch to her? Or are you actively searching for people? How is that look like on a day-to-day basis for you?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm not at this point actively investing anymore until we get some liquidity events. So that would be like having exits. So like I said, I kind of ran out of money early on myself because
Okay.
of the bucket thing, right? But that doesn't mean that I don't have a lot of other people in my network or groups that I'm involved with who we're always talking about, various companies, what is investable, what we're looking for. So I personally never want to make an investment by myself. And I don't think anybody ever should. Because, for example, healthcare. All right. So there's a lot of science involved in a lot of the healthcare companies that are out there. And I am not a scientist. However, I love investing in healthcare companies because I think it's so great. They're going to help people. They're going to help the planet. They're going to help all these people. They're such wonderful individuals.
It's so cutting edge, too. It's like it's something that hasn't been found before.
Yes. And I want to, of course, back these people. But at the same time, I'm not a scientist. So you do not want me making the science decisions about whether or not this is an investable company. So that's why we like to do things in groups. The bigger the group, sometimes the better. In fact, sometimes groups will work with each other. So there'll be multiple groups working on potentially making that decision about whether the company is investable. We call it the due diligence process. And so that's really important to have groups or funds even that get together and they do that hard work to see, hey, is this a company that we really think is going to go for the whole, stretch to acquisition? Or where do we think there could be some hiccups along the way?
It's a committee mentality almost to find, that analyzing it based on multiple skill sets and different angles, I imagine is really helpful. And I love the focus on women because you mentioned earlier how little funding we get, but also isn't it true that we have I know it's over 80% of the buying decisions out there in what we do every day, but yet we get such little money to help us in starting companies. Can you educate us on that, or what are you seeing out there in the field?
Yeah, unfortunately, the needle hasn't moved very much in the venture capital land. And venture capital are the bigger dollars. So a venture capitalist is somebody who is managing other people's money. An angel investor writes checks from their own checkbook. Typically, right? So for the most part, if I wanted to make a decision to invest in a company as an angel investor, I could make that decision. And the only person that I would really have to answer to is me. Venture capitalists, they have investors who invest in their funds, and then those funds invest in companies. So those venture capitalists, they have to answer to the investors that have put the money into the fund. Right. So in venture capital world, we haven't really seen the numbers change to how much money goes to female founders because it really hasn't changed or moved past the 2% mark for a long time. However, in angel world, because the Angel Capital Association, where I sit on the board, we do a lot of data collecting and we put out a report called the Angel Funders Report, which allows people to take a look at all of the different things that we are looking at when it comes to data. And one of the things that we look at is how many female founders are getting funding. And in angel world, over the last couple of years, it has dramatically improved. We're up to probably close to 25 to 30%. We're not quite at 50% yet, but we're getting much closer in angel world because I think we are getting more women to actually be angel investors. Still in VC land, you see that run mainly by white.
You're also seeing a lot more like the Sarah Blakeleys of the world who are, finding businesses, giving X amount of dollars to, 1,000 businesses around the country or something of that nature. Women who have made it at that level, they are wanting to give back. And I think that's that cyclical nature too, sometimes of just the generosity and the mentorship and the helping others around us. Do you feel like you've seen more of that and that might be helping us all?
I think so, because I really believe that we need to stop talking about the lack of funding and start talking about the excellent things that are happening in the way that women have been able to use the money that they do get in order to make some incredibly good returns from the standpoint, especially of revenue. So there's been some studies that have come out that have said for every dollar that a woman gets in funding, that she actually makes more revenue than her male counterparts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with that money.
We just know how to do so much with so little time. Usually, maybe that's it.
I think that could be definitely it. So we need to keep talking about the success stories, and definitely Sarah Blakely is a great success story.
So you have always advocated for others. I'm curious, did you have a strong female or a mentor model in your career early on and to help you get to where you are today?
I mean, I definitely had some good role models when I was working in corporate America, which was very helpful. I worked for the same company for almost 17 years, and I really ended up only having about 3 bosses during that entire time because they would just take me with them wherever they went. That was a really positive thing. And then once I got into angel investing, the very first angel group that I became a member of and where I first learned in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, was a woman named Catherine Mott she kind of took me under her wing, and, she taught me a lot about how things worked, and she showed me how she had built her group. And she was already a member and the chair of the board of the Angel Capital Association. And then I became a member of the board, became the chair, that kind of thing. So I kind of have followed in her footsteps, which it's an honor.
So she showed you, she kind of led the way for you, if you will, in this new field. Did you have any specific lessons from her in this business, or it's just how to surround yourself with the right people, how to get started? Is there any good takeaways for us that we can use as well?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like what you just mentioned, like who do you surround yourself with? She was very good about making sure that when there was something that needed some answers, if there were questions about a company or whatever company was developing, the type of technology, she always wanted to surround the group with the expertise that would help the group. And so instead of saying, okay, well, we just don't know about that or whatever, I mean, she would always go out and seek that level of expertise. And just surrounding yourself with the right people, I think, has really taught me anyway that that's something that we really have to do in order to make a company and really any type of investment successful.
Hey, working women, have you ever dreamed of starting a podcast but don't have enough time? I have been there. App chaos, endless Googling, tech rabbit holes, content grind, hours wasted, believe me, and not an episode live. That's why I am gifting you my free training, your complete blueprint to turn episode 1 into 30 days of AI-powered content. No overload, 2K of value inside. So go check it out. There's everything you need for week 1 launch and beyond. Visit workingwomenmentor.com/free training to claim yours now.
How was your time in corporate America? Because you were there for a long time. I know it's different than it is now. Did you find that strong support circle there of other women or just colleagues in general in your career?
Yeah, I mean, we had definitely a lot of camaraderie. I was lucky. I was in sales and marketing for the first 10 years and kind of worked my way up and got promoted and got to work with a lot of great people in that role. And then somebody said to me, hey, you're pretty good at like figuring things out, being decisive, I guess.
There you go.
And maybe you should try operations. And that's when I got into that role. And I think one of the things I kind of got known for was to be like the quote unquote cleaner, meaning like if there was some kind of messy problem, like maybe Marcia could figure out how to do it or deal with it.
I like that reputation, by the way.
Yeah,
the
like
cleaner.
let's just not like have to talk about it anymore. Just see what she can do to figure it out.
That's so funny. That's actually a great skill set, right? Yeah. It's like if everything goes wrong, call Marcia.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good thing.
And sometimes they give me like really messy stuff. I'm like, that's messy. I don't know.
Sure, I'm qualified for that. That seems a little bit above my my grade. So, how is your opinions obviously evolved over the concept of mentorship? Because from early on corporate, and then the founders that you're working with today, the other groups around you of investors you're working with. Do you think that, your definition of mentorship has changed over the years and how you look at it then versus now?
Yeah, I mean, I think then it was something that was talked about a little bit more directly from the standpoint of like, you might actually go to somebody and say to them, will you be my mentor?
Very formal, right?
Very formal, right? And then you might have like regular meetings, like monthly meeting or whatever it was. But I don't see that anymore. I see it more of an ebbing and flowing kind of thing where you can actually get mentorship from people without necessarily having to call it such a formal thing. And sometimes I think people, especially who would be in the mentor role, actually think, oh, you know what, mentor, like that's going to be a heavy lift. It's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah, like
years, right?
Uh-huh.
It's going to be for us to be mentor, mentee. Maybe I don't really want to do it that way. But instead, just having people that you can have as a sounding board, having people around you that you can go to if you have questions, people who are a good example, those types of things. I think people as mentees can benefit in a bigger way and maybe not necessarily have the intellectual stimulation from just one person. Maybe they could get that from other people and get what they need from maybe a group of people as opposed to just focusing in like, you're my mentor, you have to help me kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. That formality almost, I don't know. I'm not that formal of a person, And so
Right.
I like that genuine piece about it. Not that, a formal program, you can't develop that relationship, but there is something to the organic draw of someone that creates a value in that relationship. I'm curious, how would you compare or contrast even mentorship versus sponsorship in someone or in that relationship?
Yeah, it's so interesting you ask because I literally just had a conversation about this with somebody like a couple weeks ago. I think you see a lot of sponsorship in bigger companies because somebody might need to sponsor you in order for your career to move ahead. Where mentorship is something like you could get from inside or outside your company. To me, it seems like sponsorship, it almost has to come from the inside because those are the people that have the power to move you up or wherever it is that you want to go. So
Uh-huh.
I feel also like a sponsorship relationship could be more formal and it could be something that, you're going to really want to latch onto because your career and your paycheck is really at stake. Where with mentorship, you could get mentorship in a lot of different ways and that could help you with your career, it could help you personally, it could help you with a side business, it could help you with the business you want to create and you haven't done it yet, all those things.
Mm-hmm. That's a really great take on that and a good distinction for all of us. I mean, just as we are evaluating relationships around us and the types of relationships that we want. So I love that. I do have to ask, I'm curious, just while we have you, because speaking to the person listening to this today, having an angel investor chat with us, share with us how, if I have an idea for a company, or if I have a company I've started and it is scalable in my mind, how do I find someone like you, Marcia? And it may not be you specifically, but what are those steps I go out and say, hey, pick me. Pick me. I have this great idea. What does that look like for people out there?
So let's just use an example, like somebody has a great idea in some type of a medical area, since we've been talking about that.
We love medicine.
We love medicine and we love
stay in that lane.
There's so many things that are being worked on out there. But let's just say they had an idea.
Okay.
The best thing to do is surround yourself with the people that would also love the idea and want to see this idea come to fruition. And that might be doctors, it might be people who work at a hospital or whatever it is. You want to find your people, as I say, like find the people that are going to really want what it is that you want to create. And that could be anything. That could be in technology, it could be in consumer goods, whatever it is. But all too often, I do see people, they come up with a great idea and they're like, oh, this is a great idea. And they just want to like bulldoze forward. But did they really start to test the market? Is this something that's really needed? What is the actual problem that they're solving? Because the problem might not be big enough for the solution that they have. And if they build the solution and the solution is kind of in search of a problem, then it's not going to go anywhere.
And I love that because, when you find that doctor who can understand Because it's hard to pitch something to someone who has no idea or not even really an interest in what solution you can even bring to the table when they don't understand the underlying problem. That makes a lot of sense. It's a great start as well. The money might not be directly coming from there,
Right.
but you need some allies who can help in this. That does make a lot of sense. Are there any key traits, Marcia, that you look for in a founder when you are, let's say everything looks great on paper? They have the perfect solution for medicine. The company's scalable. It's something you would give more than your 7% to. What is it? Is it a gut feeling that you have about someone? Or is it, what is it about that person?
So I really think it comes down to what is it that they think they don't have that they need in order to grow the company. So you could have a great founder who has all the great skills, but they also need to know what they don't know. And if they know what they don't know, then they can go and find the people, surround the company with the things that they don't know so that they can build the company. But if a founder has too much ego to think that they need to surround themselves with other people, that they believe that they're the smartest person in the room, that's where I see founders fail.
I love that. I love that. Know what your weaknesses are. Be a vulnerable enough to talk about them. Like that. I love that because it applies to so many different areas, by the way, not just companies and investing. So I love that. Okay. So speaking of that, you wrote this book. We've got to talk about your new book. It's just been released, Doing Good While Doing Well. You said earlier on, you wanted to publish this book because you've made a lot of mistakes. You know where you went wrong. You know what you need to do. So tell me about the impact you want this book to make and the process of writing one.
Yeah. So basically, I wrote the book for people who think that it's only for rich people, who think you have to have a finance degree, who think all these things. And I'm trying to demystify what the investment landscape looks like. Because as of 2016, anybody, and I caveat again, with anybody who has internet access and a bank account, kind of like we talked about with E-Trade and Robinhood, can invest in a private company through an equity crowdfunding platform for as little as $50. But people don't know that. It's not something that's readily talked about. And it has only been around for, about 8-9 years. And even the first couple years, people were just trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out what the platforms are. Right now, there are 3 platforms that have the majority of the market share, and that's Republic, WeFunder, and Start Engine. And so people can go right now, they could go look at it and they don't have to invest any money. They can just look around. They can see the type of companies that are out there. These are the things that people don't know about. And I thought to myself, well, wait a minute, this would be a great gateway for people to try out investing without necessarily having to put a lot of money or even any money at risk. You could even have a game that I wrote a workbook that goes with the book, Do Good While Doing Well workbook. And in there, I have an exercise that requires no money. And it's really, really fun, especially with your children, where you could go onto one of these platforms and you could make a mock portfolio. And together, it's like great dinner table conversation because you get to talk about the innovations that are happening in the world. You can even talk about, well, I would want to invest in this company, but I wouldn't want to invest in that company, and about why. You can learn a lot about your kids that way. That's what I do with my stepkids. I ask them all kinds of questions about what's going on in the world and what they like and what
I
they
do
don't
too.
like,
I said,
right?
that's our dinner conversation.
Exactly.
Business conversations. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you? What if we did this instead?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that I wrote the book really to be able to demystify all of those things in all of the ways. And I did write it specifically originally for potential investors. And that's really what it's for. However, along the way, several entrepreneurs have gotten their hands on it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is helping me figure out how I'm going to fundraise, because there are so many different ways that you can start. And sometimes you don't necessarily want to go right out to try to get investors. Although sometimes that sounds great. You're like, hey, I have this great idea. If I just get some investors, they give me some money, I can go build it. Everything will be fantastic. That isn't how it works.
A little more to it.
There's a lot more to it. And at the beginning, investors usually won't come in until there's been a friends and family round, or you've gotten some of your own money in there, or whatever the story is. And some entrepreneurs, they don't have access to that. So an equity crowdfunding round can actually be very, very helpful, not only to get some people to invest so that you have money for your company, but it also is market validation and it can get you customers as well.
There's so much in there that you're helping to demystify for us, those interested, this is a conversation I'll be having, with my 13-year-old at dinner, right? I mean, these are great exercises and learning. And so I'm curious, what did you learn from writing this book? Is there anything that when you started working on this that surprised you?
The publishing industry is so different than it has ever been. Ever. I mean, most of the time, if people think about, I'm going to go find I want to write a book. I have to find a publisher, then I have to get the publisher to do whatever.
They've got to love it.
It is so incredibly different. Now, there's so many ways that you can publish a book. And in a lot of cases, because the author, unless you're like Prince Harry or, President Obama, you're not going to necessarily be able to sell the book yourself. It's you. You are the one. It's the author who is selling.
The one-man show.
You're a one-man band here, right?
Yes.
So you have to be able to explain it, talk about it, tell everybody why you wrote it and why it's important for the world. And that can be a lot of different ways of how you would publish. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot to marketing a book. There's a lot going on TikTok, believe it or not. So there's a lot of things. And I think one of the things I wasn't necessarily thinking I was going to have to learn is all of the ins and outs. I didn't realize like how complex the world of publishing and putting a book into the world can actually be. But it's really fun and it's super fascinating and it changes all the time. And I mean, I'm having a good time.
Well, I mean, it's difficult enough making that commitment to actually the final product of a book. And then to think, oh my goodness, now I actually also have to do X, right? Like in this landscape right now. Are there any quick 1 or 2 tips you want to share with us about, hey, if you have that book idea, should we just go ahead and write the darn thing and then figure out how to get it published and released? Or what? Any takeaways you have for us after that experience?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have a teacher who actually wrote a book that is available to the public, I think for about $24. And it's probably, if you're ever thinking about writing a book, it's the best $24 you ever spend. A.J. Harper wrote a book called Write, a Must Read. And it is absolutely the Bible of how to write a book. And anybody who's thinking about it should go and get the book. It goes through everything, including marketing the book as well. She goes through things about how to get your outline together. Who's your reader? Why would people buy the book, read the book, finish the book, and recommend the book? Those are the things that she really cares.
It's a lot, isn't it?
It's a lot. It's a lot. And that's what she tells you all about in her book, Write, a Must Read. It's fantastic.
And did you self-publish or did you actually end up finding a publisher?
I went through what's called a hybrid publisher. So it's somebody who helps you with the process, almost like a general contractor who gets your book into all of the places and does all the things and really helps out.
I love that. Well, congratulations. I know that it's already quite a hit on Amazon. For everyone listening, of course, we'll have the book tagged and be sure to buy it and leave a review because I know that helps. And so every review matters. I mean, it's like that with everything. Even if you're listening to this podcast right now, go leave a review, right? It helps these algorithms incredibly feed. And I know it'll help you and get this out to more people. And so one other thing that you do that gets to a lot of people and reach is your podcast. We've got to talk about that for just a minute. The Angel Next Door podcast. What has been one of your all-time favorite episodes? Do you care sharing one with us?
Sure. Well, I mean, I was lucky. I was able to get so far 5 U.S. Congresspeople on and 2 of the Securities and Exchange Commission commissioners. So that's always fun to talk to Congresspeople and government officials about what's going on, what's their take, what do they care about entrepreneurship, what do they see in the future, all those kind of things. So those are fun. But I did start the podcast because I wanted people to be able to see themselves as angel investors. So hence the title, The Angel Next Door, just like The Millionaire Next Door, for those of you that remember that book. And I started out literally just interviewing my friends and being like, hey, why'd you become an angel investor? Tell me more about it. Where'd you get the money? Blah, blah, blah. And so that's really the premise of the show. But because there are so many ways, the equity crowdfunding route, using philanthropic capital in order to invest in a for-profit company, which that's kind of like mind-blowing right there. Like, what are all of the things? And those episodes, I try to break down into very, very bite-sized pieces. Like, I just put out an episode recently related to using philanthropic capital to invest in a for-profit company. And I titled it, That Explained in 7 minutes. So in basically 7 minutes, you could listen to a podcast episode and you could be like, oh, I kind of get what she's talking about now, or why you would want to do that. So those are the types of things I'm trying to do. I have a lot of episodes with guests where I'm trying to get them to tell us all the juicy things behind the scenes. But then I also try to make these super bite-sized episodes so that people can feel like, oh, I actually learned something in the last 8 minutes or whatever it is.
It's interesting you say, I think that's my takeaway from even like your book, right? Like you help people understand things from a high level, but then you make it so reader friendly and understandable. Not to say that we, as a consumer, as a reader, aren't smart enough to understand a topic at a high level. But I think the way you approach and are able to communicate these topics is incredible. So thank you for that, because your podcast, your book, everything you're putting out there to spread the impact really of angel investing, because as you only have so much bandwidth, money, time, all of those things. But if you can teach more people, can you imagine the impact that will have on all of us as just even a consumer, even if you're listening going, I don't know if I want to ever get involved in that. Hey, but you might be buying a product or a service, or that next medicine might save your life, right? Like we need these investors out there. So I love this topic. Marcia, before I let you go, I have to ask you what your mentor moment is for our audience. It's going to be that takeaway and that lasting advice for everyone.
Yeah. Like we talked about, as far as your mentor, it doesn't have to be so formal. Look at the people that are out there that you emulate, that you think to yourself, wow, I really like what that person's doing, or I really appreciate that I learned this from that person, and reach out to them. I can't tell you how many times I've said to people, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can just send me a note or whatever. We don't have to have some long-term relationship or anything, but it's a way that you can get to know people, and the way that they can get to know what you're working on and things like that. And I just encourage people to do that, especially in the area that you are really trying to make an impact. If you have an idea, if you have some type of innovation that you're working on, go out and find the people that are the most interested in knowing that this exists and that this is something that you want to bring into the world. And those are the people that you should connect with.
So encouraging. I have a follow-up question about that. Do people feel that if I reach out to Marcia, I'm just going to use you as an example, I've got this brilliant idea, but I don't want to tell anyone. Marcia might take it and find the next cure to something, right? She might take it and do that, like a fear of losing the idea if they tell anyone. What would you say to that person?
Okay, so that happens every day. Okay,
I assumed.
It absolutely does. That is something that pretty much every entrepreneur fears, and they think that their idea is going to be stolen. They're just done. But guess what? It doesn't matter, because you are the only one who can actually do what you're going to do with your idea. Nobody else can do what you're going to do. So it's just like, how many books are there out there on leadership or money, or take a very, very broad topic? Does that mean people's just said, you know what, I'm not going to write a leadership book. There's so many leadership. No, then that means more people could do it, because there's a much bigger audience, a much bigger bandwidth for it. So entrepreneurs should never feel like people are going to steal their ideas. It does happen. I've probably never seen it personally myself.
That's good, by the way. It's not lingering in your circle.
Yeah, maybe in like the news, you might have heard about it at some point. But really, no, we want to see you succeed. We want you to take the idea. I don't want to take that. I don't want to go build a company. You go take the idea. You build the company.
Very encouraging. Very encouraging. Marcia, where can everyone find you and support you?
So you could just go to my website. It's just Marcia, Marcia, Dawood, DAWOOD.com, and everything's there. And plus, you can also get a free copy of the intro and chapter 1 of my book.
Yeah, it's on your website. I saw it. It's very generous of you. I love that teaser that you're doing. This is great. Marcia, thanks for being a guest today. It's so great to meet you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. Hey, wait, before you go, I have one ask. Would you please leave us a review? Tapping on those stars on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you're listening to this will really help us. It'll spread the word and your voice and your impact as well, because every episode we are giving mentor moments. And I hope you can continue this conversation with us at workingwomenmentor.com. To apply to be a guest, find show notes and episode details. And if you've ever wanted to start a podcast, we've got the perfect course for you. Follow us on Instagram at Working Women Mentor and DM us the word mentor, and I'll send you over our free guide on mentorship so you can incorporate it into your life. Thanks so much for joining us. And until then, cheers until the next episode.